Hello, host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People, making another low quality video on the grounds that they're a lot quicker and easier to make and upload. Anyhow, I'm interested very much right now in thinking about ways in which I might actually currently or in certain circumstances manifest or display behaviors consistent with introverted intuition and trying to see where it occurs and how I can get a better feel for what it is so I can recognize it more when it happens. Because my understanding is basically that we all have access to behaving through the lens of any of the functions or cognating through the lens of any of the functions, but that we're naturally unaware of our shadow functions. And to the extent that we're unaware and incompetent, then we tend to project those failings onto others. To the extent that we're unaware and competent, we tend to take it for granted. To the extent that we are aware and incompetent, well, I think that's probably where the growth aspects comes in, and we probably stop projecting it so much onto others. I don't know. Anyway, for introverted intuition, it occurs to me that a couple of possible instances where that manifests have occurred to me, and I wanted to mention them. One is I do display this trait that I read about in an Enneagram regarding 7 with 8, which says they will ignore the naysayers if they think they're correct on something and persist in a given course. Well, that would seem to be a very introverted intuition-y kind of approach to pushback. And I certainly displayed that in a couple of big life events, within the last year or so, related to my work stuff that happened last year and a bunch of other stuff like that. So I did persist against the naysayers. I did maintain my basic core position, and I did lose people in the process. And I've since more or less regained most of them. And I think that one of the mistakes I made was prioritizing TI too much over FE, which is to say, I was mostly concerned with getting the facts of the details in everybody's head as I indicated them to be, rather than concerned about how people emotionally would be engaging with what I was saying or how I was saying it, right? My tone was not a matter of concern to me. But regardless, I think my certainty about it and my persistence in the face of strong pushback, in the face of losing important people, seemed to be reflective of my understanding of an intuitive intuition approach rather than an extroverted intuition approach. Because the extroverted intuitor who thinks that meaning, truth is created is very flexible about his own positions in general, in the specifics of them, right? So I certainly am, but I'm not necessarily flexible about the big picture stuff. And I think that's a matter of a couple of things. One, the need for the extroverted intuitor to find some solid ground on which to stand eventually, and some principles and some ideas that don't move around and that don't get messed with a whole bunch. And I think that we all have that need for solid ground that naturally perhaps eludes the ENTP, but which he can access through the work of extroverted intuition and introverted thinking, which is messing with the models until you get models that require a lot of push before they start to give. So that's it for this episode of Talking with Famous People. Thank you for watching. I've been host Eric.